How did you get to New York City?
I drove my Lexus. It took a long time. No, because I live in New Jersey now, but I'm from Canada. You know, this is the quickest way to explain it. I grew up in abject poverty and, you know, farmers from Canada, you know, trying to make a living off the frozen tundra. I don't know why. I don't know why they chose to do that, but they chose the hardest thing on the planet. And I remember when I was very young, we didn't have TV, by the way, but we were somewhere where someone had a TV, and I remember saying to my mom, "How much do you have to pay to be on TV?" And my mom said, "Oh, they pay you." And I was like, "What are we doing? What are we doing?" Like, it really blew my mind that we were working so hard. Yeah. I remember my parents, because we had a market garden that they figured out how much they were making on the market garden, and it was like 10 cents an hour. I mean, it was like insane. Or that's what they were getting paid. They were saying, like, whatever it was. But, you know, if you can get paid to be creative and silly, like, why would you do anything else? It never makes sense. And then when we'd go in school, when people would be like, "What do you want to do?" And people would be like, "Well, I want to be this kind of worker. I want to be," and I'd be like, writer, actor. I couldn't sing, so I did try a lot. I tried for a long time to be a singer, and then just never couldn't do it. But yeah, so then when I realized comedy was a choice that you could do, I literally ran this. I was in at that time I was in Vancouver, and somebody was saying that they needed a hostess. They were looking for a hostess at this comedy club. And I literally ran down there, got the job immediately. I was drunk. I took the interview drunk, got the job, showed up drunk the first day. And then I just was like blown away by these comedians, how amazing they were, how good. And I was like, okay, I'm going to write. I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. Do
you know why and how your family got to, it's northern Canada, right?
Yeah, well, they were in Saskatchewan. They grew up in Saskatchewan, farmers in Saskatchewan, poor farmers in Saskatchewan. Their parents came from Ireland and Scotland with no money. I mean, the stories like of our ancestors, like, it's just crazy that we're like sitting around like, woo, our lives. You know what I mean? It blows my mind that what they went through so we could exist, and we're like, oh, it's so hot today. My air conditioner is out. I was thinking about this the other day. Everyone, even rich people, used to have to take cold showers, like bathe in cold water, you know? And now only rich people bathe in cold water.
Consistently.
Like to get their heart rate racing or whatever it is. The Joe Rogans. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
So they fled poverty from Ireland to go try to get a slightly better life in Saskatchewan?
In Saskatchewan, yes. Yes. And there's pictures in my family of all the relatives that had come over on horseback trying to pull this house. It's so wild. Like, that's what they were doing. They would build a house, and then, I don't know, or maybe they found a house or were pulling it somewhere, but moving it by like mules and horses and stuff. That's not that long ago.
No, it's not.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were born in the 1800s.
And I was born, yes. But I did read a lot of Little House on the Prairie and thought it was the same time frame. You know, I mean, that's the way we grew up. Like there was no running water for a little while. You know, there's no running water. We had electricity, but my mom would routinely like melt snow on the stove or whatever for baths and stuff. Isn't that crazy?
I believe you right. It was a weekly bath with shared water.
Yes.
With your family. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes. Yes. Not our parents. I just want to make that clear.
To clarify.
Yes. I had good parents. Yes. Well, there would be two. We'd bathe together.
Yeah.
Then my dad would haul that tub out, let the water out, and then my mom would refill it again for the next two. So there's 4 kids.
And you got a cow at the age of 10?
We all got a cow at the age of 10. I'm the youngest. My dad said you could have a cow or you can take $600 and put it in your bank account for your education. And my sisters obviously took the money. I say 600, but I'm not 100% sure what it was. But it was whatever the going rate for a cow was, you know. My dad was a fair man. But I go, I don't know why, just to be an asshole, I think I remember laying on the couch and I go, I'll take the cow. And my dad was like, really? And then so I got up and went outside to go get the cow and I picked a pregnant cow.
Yes.
So I got 2 fucking cows.
Which led to you making ice cream.
Which led to a pretty booming business. I made a lot more than 600. And yeah.
Do you look back, were your parents, I don't know if happy is the right word to ask about, but how would you describe them as people in retrospect?
They're like when you say salt of the earth, that's my parents. My dad is just like this amazing man. I only think about this now, not when I was a kid. I mean, I love my dad so much, but he really was a remarkable guy because he he sort of embodied that, like he was very tall and, worked really hard and, but he was also like very funny and silly. And, I don't know. It's just like when I think about my family growing up, it is weird because we worked really, really hard, but we had a lot of fun. So after, the dishes were put away and, we'd play games. And I think about my parents, like fully being silly and having fun and singing. And my mom could play the piano. And at one point she learned how to play the bagpipes.
Wow.
Which we were so mean about. No, the accordion.
Okay.
Somebody gave her an accordion or she somehow got her hands on an accordion and started learning to play the accordion when we were young. And we were like, make it stop. We were so mean to her. But then she was pretty good at it, after all the practicing. And she played the accordion and we'd dance around and sing and be stupid. But I my family, I have a daughter, a husband. We're not like that. Yeah. We don't do, but we have TV and phones.
So they had a hard life, but a good life?
I would say so. Yeah. But, I mean, there was a toll. They worked really, really hard. Yeah. But there was never really a lot of money, but my parents never cared about money. Never. Because they cared about if we had enough food, which we grew ourselves. So so it is a weird perspective to have later in life because I actually took a money class at one point because it's not like I ever had a problem with money. I was never like I was broke, but it never bothered me that much. But I was like, I want to see how you make millions. I was like, one day I was like, let me figure this out. And it was like, I realized I've just never cared about money. I've never looked at my bank account. I don't know what's going on there. I don't have a budget. I've never done that. One time, I got rear-ended and then, I had to go get my insurance out of my glove compartment. And there was $1,600 in an envelope in my glove compartment for like a year and a half. I guess I had it in there from a gig that I just forgot about. Like that's how little I thought about it. Do you know what I mean? I just sort of always had it. Yeah. And then I guess after I had a kid, I started thinking about it more, like how to like prepare for the future or whatever. And I think that's because of my family, that wasn't the main source of our being alive. Yeah. The main source of us being alive was my father working and my mom working their asses off for the garden and, the cows and the livestock and making sure we had enough food for the winter and all that.
So maybe provided that the basic essentials are there, that's sufficient. And
yes.
Additional money doesn't really register.
Yeah. I guess I just never, I don't know. I've never thought about money that much.
Which is probably a far healthier attitude than the greed you see everywhere.
Yes.
I mean,
right.
I mean, speaking about comparing that to 200 years ago and what people were doing or moving a house with mules.
Yes.
Who cares? Like,
right. They're not like, I mean, they wanted money, but it wasn't like, oh, I need all this money. Yeah. It wasn't like I didn't care about money in terms of like, I heard my parents talk about money, and stuff. Obviously we needed cash. We weren't like taking a chicken over to, get a gift at Target, but I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about as I think about my career too, is that I never cared about the money and I never cared about the fame until very recently. I started caring about the fame because I realized, that's what keeps the door open for you, but everything else was just about recognition or being good, being considered artistic.
Yeah. You talked about asking your mother how much you had to pay to get on television.
Yeah.
And she told you, no, they pay you. Did you, from an early age, was it acting that was the primary motivator to get out of there and pursue a creative life? Did you have a pretty strong sense of what you wanted to do?
Well, first it was singing.
Yeah.
I practiced a lot of singing. I made my mom play the piano. I learned a little bit of piano. I was going to accompany myself. I can't sing. I just cannot sing. You want me to ruin
That's
you
tough.
right now? So then I thought about acting, but the thing about acting was that my parents sort of always acted like you had to be like a sex pot. Or that they were worried that if you're a woman in that business, you would be exploited in some way, or So I think even though I really did deep down want to be an actor, I said, I'll be a writer. That seemed more in line with what my parents thought would be respectful.
Did you study writing? Were you in English? No. Okay.
I did nothing. Once again. No, I went to college in Edmonton, Alberta, and then it was radio and arts television at Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. It was a good school, and then I, was going to pursue advertising. And so that was my first goal, was to go to, that's why I went to Vancouver. I immediately got a job I just was like asking people, where's the best place to get a job in advertising or whatever? And I remember a guy being like, well, you can go to one of the bigger agencies. These are just people I would meet on the street, or this was the first time I ever took a city bus. Like things were like, a lot was going on in my life at the time, but I would just talk to anyone. And I remember a guy saying, like, you want to go to one of the cooler boutique places where you can really get noticed. And he gave me the name of one, and I just went in there. And I had my book, and I showed someone my book. And then they said, okay, you can come work here. So I did. And then it really wasn't enough money, honestly. And somebody said, "Oh, there's this comedy club needs someone to be a hostess at night." And I thought, perfect. This will go great with my day job of being in advertising.
Getting around the comedians, did that trigger the excitement about being involved in that world? You said you wanted to be a writer.
Yes.
Was that obvious to you immediately?
I loved it immediately. I really felt like, because I think now that I know myself more, there is some neurodivergence going on. I don't know what it is. I've obviously, TikTok has told me a lot of things about myself. I've taken a lot of quizzes. I got a lot of problems. But I do think there is something, because I was always worried in my own family about upsetting people. Because I would say things or suggest things of like as an example, one time I was probably 10 or 11, young, and we were at our dinner table, and I just said, I was eating meat, by the way, at the time too. Like our family, we raised meat.
Yeah.
And I said, isn't it weird that we haven't evolved out of eating meat yet, like as a people, as a species? And my father flipped out. My mom got mad. Everyone lost their minds. I had no idea that I was creating that scenario. But I had basically said, like, Jesus, you guys are in some kind of old-fashioned business, or I don't know what triggered it for them, but this is how they lived.
Yeah.
And so I guess, I did become, I'm a vegan now.
Wow.
But, when I left home, I became a vegetarian, and I went off and on for years, back and forth. But it's just funny. So that's, so I felt like when I got into the comedy world that there was no way of offending these people. And it felt, I'm telling you, it felt very safe and secure. That's because I never knew when I would say things to people and they would blow up. I never understood why, because I was just, and it still happens every once in a while where I'll say something, but now I'm better at seeing the patterns, and I can be like, I'm not saying we should. I'm not saying that. I can pull it back a little better, but yeah. And then I love that idea that we could just say whatever we want, whatever crazy thought came into our brains, we could just say it to one another, and possibly even on stage. And, it was very, and still is, very secure feeling.
I guess that must be one of the defining personality traits of comedians.
Maybe
their inability to be offended. Or at least their openness to...
Right now, they can be offended, unfortunately. Now, there is a little bit of you do have to be a little more careful than you used to.
Okay. But
when girls got involved, started changing.
But generally speaking, for you, that of all of the groups of people you had come across in life, they were the least...
Right. Yes, and still I believe that they are. You can say almost anything in a green room. Like, obviously you're not going to say things to be mean to somebody, but you can say as a, idea, what about this? Does this hold water at all? And people won't get mad at you for suggesting that.
Yeah. I'm surprised your parents got so triggered by that comment.
So triggered.
Why?
I don't know. I don't know.
Had they not put together? They knew. They're killing their own animals and eating them.
I think they thought I was saying we shouldn't eat meat anymore.
Like it was a judgment.
Yes. Yes. But really what I was saying was I just started thinking about how weird it is that we're eating these animals that we love.
Yeah. Well, you write this in your book that,
yes.
that the cow that you got, that you loved, that I think produced all of this ice cream.
Right.
It's the final sentence in this subsection.
We ate her.
And I later ate her.
Yeah. And she was my friend.
Crazy. So how long after the Vancouver opportunity did New York come calling to you? Or did you feel the urge to move here?
No. How did that happen? I very early on won a contest, a comedy contest.
For stand-up?
For stand-up. Literally the first time I stepped on stage, or maybe the second time on stage, somebody said, you should enter this contest. And so I did. And then I won the contest. And it was a nationwide search for Canada's funniest new comic. So it wasn't I was competing against, Jim Carrey or anything. And then... But that did get me sort of a lot of attention. I was very young at the time. I was still in my early 20s. And I was female, which was still kind of fairly new. Wasn't that many women doing stand-up at that time. And and then I just started getting I got a message from a manager from New York. That was hey, I want to manage you, which I didn't know what it meant. So I just didn't pay any attention to it at all. I remember asking someone from the States who would come to do stand-up in one of the clubs. And I said, what is a manager? And he was like, you don't want to get mixed up in that. And I was like, okay. Put the letter aside. A handwritten letter, by the way.
Huh.
Yeah, this is pre-email. And then I saw a show. I still didn't have television just because now I'm poor, living on my own, and it just, I don't know. But I was at someone's house, or we went out after one night of doing stand-up, and this show, Caroline's Comedy Hour, was on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I want to be on that. So I called Caroline's, the club in New York. and I asked for the person who booked the show. It's so weird now because it might not even have been the same club.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the way that it's so weird that I just was like, let me find this Caroline's club in New York and call them up. And I did. And turns out the guy who booked the television show was also the guy who booked the club, which I didn't know. And who could have known that?
Yeah.
It seems crazy even. And they put me on the phone with him. And I started talking to the guy, and, he seemed amused by me. I was being kind of funny, and I had my notebook there in case he wanted to hear some jokes. And I was like, I want to be on the show. And he was like, he goes, are you cute? He asked me that. And I go, I don't have a full-length mirror, but I think so. And he kind of laughed. And then he goes, I'll tell you what. I have these workmen in my office. They're fixing my ceiling. And I heard, he goes, I'm putting you on speaker. I heard them say hello. And then he said, so if you make these guys laugh, I'll give you the show. And then I didn't know that was weird. That's what I had prepared for. That my book was open and out.
Yeah.
I knew which jokes that I would do should he ask.
Yeah.
So I was like, great. And then I just did them. And I was doing a little crowd work. I was like, don't fall off the ladder. I was trying to imagine some guys working on the roof or the ceiling or whatever. And they were laughing and everybody was laughing and I was laughing and it was fun. And then after he goes, okay, I'm going to give you the show. I'm going to give you the show. Sight unseen, no manager, no agent. No video. And he said, do you have a manager? And I go, oh, hang on a second. I found the guy's letter. And I go, Jeff Sussman? And then he knew the guy. And he was like, great. And so then I contacted Jeff. Jeff got me an immigration lawyer so I could go get it done. And so I got I had to go stay at Jeff's house. And that's a little weird. But he let me talk to his fiance on the phone. So, there's no way to check up on people. You know, it's way back when. This is in the 90s.
Right.
This is in the, I don't know. This is mid to late 90s. So it was an odd time to just go trust someone and go there. But I stayed at his house and then I did the show. And I bombed really bad on the show.
So the promise was you can be on once? Or was there some detail about what your role was going to be at Caroline's?
No, they put me on their television
show. The TV show.
Yes. The night before I went in and did the set at the club. And the next day I went in, got hair and makeup done and did the show.
And bombed.
Really bad. I was out of my depth for sure. I mean, I guess I was kind of bold on the phone and stuff. But then when I got there and they were putting my hair and makeup on, I'd never got that done before. That seemed like a really big deal. And that all the cameras, you just don't realize how big it is. There's a lot of cables and big trucks outside and it just seemed, I don't know. It just was oh my God, what am I doing?
Bombing mostly because of nerves?
Very nervous, very incredibly nervous. Could hardly get liquid in my mouth. Looking down and seeing these people just what's this now? I'm sure they were what is this?
So what'd you do? What was next?
After I did that show?
Yeah.
I stayed, I think, for a week or a week and a half at this guy's apartment with his fiance. And then her grandmother passed away and they needed someone to live in the grandmother's apartment until they could sell it. So I went back home, got the rest of my stuff and I went and lived in this woman's apartment and it was so fresh that I ate food out of her fridge. Yes, I slept on her sheets. It was just it was like she had been there the day before.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she had all these little airline bottles that she must have collected over the years. Hundreds of them. I drank them all. Thanks, Patty.
Caroline's kept you on. Did you continue working there? Or
I worked there, but this manager who, by the way, is Joe Rogan's manager.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So Joe Rogan was one of his clients back then.
Yeah. Okay.
So I met Joe when I very first got to New York. And then I just, so he just introduced me to all the club owners and stuff. He was already kind of a big manager, big deal. He knew everybody, and everybody just said, okay, yeah, she can work here. I don't know.
I assume you had to do other work to survive.
No,
that was enough.
The one day when I was still in Vancouver, I just said, I'm not doing a day job anymore. I'm just going to make this work. And then it just did. I don't know how it did, but I just did it. I just didn't work anymore. And I've never had a job since, except for a writing job or anything, obviously. But I just said, But also, I'm not afraid of being poor.
Yeah. Because
I was poor. I never thought about not having money as like the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah.
You just need to get it. I'd get a giant bagel and I eat half of it in the morning and then half of it like as late in the afternoon as I could. And then if I went to a club, they usually would give you some food. And that's how I survived.
And that's enough.
And that was perfectly fine. I had no problems with it.
Did you have major goals additional outside of just being on the Carolines TV show? Like what were you hoping to accomplish here?
That's a great question, because I don't know that I had things like that in my head. Like a lot of people told me what I needed to do and I just listened to them. But I really wanted to get good at stand-up. I really did. I really liked the art form of it. I loved the immediacy of it. And even though it's like an interesting art form because it's such a slow, I don't know what you call it, slow art. Like it takes a long time to get 10 minutes of, good material.
Yeah.
And even though you're out there every night doing like 10 new minutes, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like only one line is going to work, I get like, so it's like, it's fast, but it's like you can take time and change things. And I don't know. I just really liked everything about it. I just really wanted to get good at it. So I didn't think about, I don't know. I didn't think about going on the road even or anything. I didn't know what was possible really. And then my manager was the one who was like, started getting me into auditions and, I got a development deal really early on and, people were, I was young and kind of cute. I think people were interested in seeing, but I just wasn't that person. I wasn't malleable like that. I really wanted to be good at it. So I was probably kind of an asshole a lot of the time.
You talked about bombing on Carolines, but were you getting additional feedback? You must have that there's something here, either internally or from other people who saw you.
Well, I bombed a lot when I first got to New York. It was really hard to figure out how to take Canadian material. And then, I basically just had to write new. I just started writing because it was really hard at first. And I bombed all the time. I started being like, this might not be for me, and then somewhere it turned around and then I got the Montreal Comedy Festival and then I did very well there. And that's when things started. But, wait, I don't know what the question was.
Just
when I was bombing,
getting feedback that you're onto something. If like the love of the craft was enduring, even though the reaction from the crowd and your performances may have been suffering, you just knew you had enough of a battery for comedy that eventually maybe you would.
Oh, I think my love of it and my love of the whole culture of it kept me in there. If I didn't I know there's comedians that don't like hanging around other comedians and they do very well too. I know lots of really famous comedians that would just come in, do their set and jet out, or that was they wanted the fame part of it. They didn't care if comedians liked them or not.
Yeah.
I was always only cared about, it was like, it's like why people do CrossFit or something. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I liked the community, the culture, the whole thing. And so even when I was not doing well, it was upsetting to me to not be good or have my peers think I was bad or whatever. But I liked watching comedy. I liked other comedians. I became really good friends with like Jim Gaffigan and Greg Rogel and Greg Giraldo and all those guys. And they were really, really good comedians, thought of as Dave Attell, thought of as really good comedians at the time. And, I wanted to be like them. I wanted to be as good as them. And so it upset me that I couldn't sometimes be as good as I wanted to be in my head.
Yeah.
It takes a long time.
This is pre 9/11 New York.
This is.
What's the scene like, the comedy scene here at the time?
It was amazing. So good. And what's amazing to me is when I think back of like hanging out with I met Dave Chappelle was like, when I'm just, walking on like in front of the cellar or something. He goes, you comedian? I was like, man, I must really be giving this off. I go, yes. And he goes, can you go down and ask him when Dave Chappelle's coming on? Because he didn't know his set time. He didn't want to go down and ask him. So he just was like, here's a girl with a backpack. I bet she's a comedian. Single lady standing there. Yeah. But no, it was all this. It was like the people that we like Louis C.K. It's like the people that maybe they're not as famous now, actually, now that I think about it. But I remember thinking about this like 10 years ago. I was like, God, there's still the same group of comedians that were revered back then are still revered,
The people the names you just mentioned, Louis C.K., Chappelle, Dave Attell, the people that was it obvious to you that the guys that have subsequently become the household comedic names that they were going to become that? Do you feel like you had a good sense of who was on that trajectory?
Well, I think I have a very good eye for comedy. So there was a lot of people that I didn't even like that I knew were really good comedians. Like I could, I mean, it seems interesting that, I don't know. I've always been attracted to very funny people. So I just am friends with the people that are very good at it. Just as it turns out, they've all blown past me. They're all very, very successful. No, they're really, I like being around really good comedians. So.
Do you look at certain moments, whether it was getting passed at clubs or getting into the Montreal scene, as transition points, as major breakthroughs in your career looking back? Like, were there individual events and opportunities that were provided to you that really changed your life, changed your career?
Yes. Well, coming to New York obviously changed my life, doing that weird thing that I did that I wish I still had, kind of like that kind of weird guts and gumption, which I don't have anymore. But then also like when the first like Letterman, I think was the first late night show that I did. And I ended up doing that like a bunch of times. And that changed my world in a way, not like the way that you think like, oh, she's famous now and people recognize her. It wasn't like that, but it was like the other comedians put me in a little bit of a higher category. Yeah. So then I finally got out of like the open mic scene kind of. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Where I could, obviously I was getting booked at clubs and stuff, but now I could walk into an open mic and they'd be like, oh, we'll put her on, I know it sounds like such a small thing, but I remember at the time being like, this is amazing. Yeah. Like, you don't have to wait around for stage time. Like, they'll just give it to you now. So little things like that really do help you, because you cannot stay at the bottom forever. Like, it's too hard to just continually be like grinding down there. So these little doors that open are pretty nice, and I don't know. It's such a slow build. For me, it was such a slow, long. But I didn't until very recently, I never cared at all about my trajectory, because I just liked doing it. I like writing sometimes and doing stand up and whatever. And then at some point I started to get scared that I was going to get aged out. And because people tell you that all the time, they're like, you know, nobody wants to see an old lady up there. And I started thinking like I should have focused on fame, you know, because there was a lot of things that I didn't do just because I didn't feel like doing it, or, you know, like I didn't. Once I had my acting experience that I did have, I was like, not for me. You know, it's just not creative enough, in my opinion. I'd rather be in the writer's room or, you know, which is fine. It's just that I ended up, you know, I didn't ever sort of like, I didn't take into consideration that the door could close if you don't get famous enough. Do you know what I mean? So then I started to get worried, but then I just was like, fuck it.
Do you think that's true?
Well, I do think it's a myth that you can age out. That's something that happens in your own head. Yeah. Because I think when women say, "Oh, you get aged out," what they're really saying is, they'll no longer use me as a love interest, which is like, okay, fine. Who fucking cares? You shouldn't be doing romantic comedies at 50 anyway, unless it's about 50-year-olds in the romantic comedy. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, anyway, I see so many very, very successful women over, 40, over 50 that are like killing it, that I just go, it's absolutely untrue. I really don't believe that at all anymore.
I'm sure so many people who get to meet you ask you about this if they know this about your biography. I read the foreword to your book by Anthony Bourdain, who I revered and watched for a decade, and as did millions of people around the world. I think he writes in the foreword about where he heard your work, and it was at a roast.
Yes.
How did you meet? And I'd love to hear about your relationship.
This is another Caroline's coming into this, entering the chat again. So there was a big roast for Anthony Bourdain for the Food and Wine Festival, which I guess is a huge thing New York does every year. I didn't know about it. And so Caroline's, they do a lot of sort of outside producing. So they were producing this big roast that I can't remember the venue. It was like gigantic. And they couldn't find another female roaster. I guess originally I heard that it was Bethany Frankel, and then Anthony Bourdain didn't want Bethany Frankel. So I don't know how it got to me, but at some point I got a phone call that was like, would you like to do this roast of Anthony Bourdain, who I barely knew. I recognized the name, but I had to look him up. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. I was like, let me check my calendar. Okay. And so I think I had like a week. They were like, do you have enough time? I was like, yeah, of course, And so then I just started writing these jokes. I was looking him up. The more I looked him up, the more I was like, who is this fucking guy, man? He's like kind of amazing. And then I was like, I don't want to make jokes about him, because he just seemed like such a cool guy, So I did this thing where I was the most gentle with him than everyone else. I obliterated on the thing, but with him I was like, nah, he's like a cool guy. Like, I don't want to. And then I did really, really well on that roast. And afterwards, he was like, get in touch with my agent. And then, there was, people were like moving so quickly, and I was like, and then I left, and I was like, I don't know who his fucking agent is, So then I tried to Google who his agent is. And then I wrote a cold email to someone. I go, are you Anthony Bourdain's agent? I go, if you're not, I go, your other clients seem amazing. Just FYI. But it was his agent, and, or manager rather. And, she immediately set up a lunch for Anthony Bourdain and I and herself. And we went for lunch, and he said, I want you to write a book. I go, about what? He goes, whatever you want. I was like, okay. So he'd already looked me up, looked up my writing, was all in. It was the easiest thing in the world. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. And he knew nothing about my life. He would say to me, I've never met a woman that had a voice like that. Like, cause I was, on stage, like obliterating people, like literally, like, I mean,
So you wrote the jokes and delivered them.
Yes, I was the actual roaster, and like he went on Good Morning America the next morning and was like saying I was the best one on the roast, and I started off by saying like I'm a nobody. I've clearly somebody canceled. Like I'm the only nobody up here, and so he was like, I've never met anybody that was like any woman. And so then I was like, well, it's a roast and it's not like really me, but then every time I saw him, I roasted him a little because I was like, that's what he thinks I am. I don't want to, do you know what I mean? So like everyone's like, Anthony Bourdain. I'm like, that's the shirt you're going to wear? All right. But yeah, he was very good to me. And it was obviously, I wrote for him for years. And he did stage shows all over the place and I wrote them all. So it was a good partnership. It's unfortunate what happened. There was a movie coming out.
You wrote these were speeches he would give. These were comedic performances.
It's interesting because I never saw one. He never invited me. But he did them the first year by himself, and the second year he did them with Eric Repair, who I also wrote his stuff. And they wanted to roast each other. So I had to write roasts for both of them. Well, Anthony was like, Tony, everyone called him Tony, but he would say like, I'm just so good at roasting him and he's bad. So he would pay me to write his.
Yeah,
like
he needs some help.
Yes, that Eric needed help. But Eric was very funny too. And and so I don't know what the shows were really, but it had to have been some, I think they would go on or Tony would go on and do some of the joke because the way that it worked, he would just say, here's some topics. So I would just write pages and pages of jokes on those topics. And then he'd say, oh, I need more on this topic, or I need more. But he never told me which jokes he was using or not using, or here's the final, like, here's how I'm going to do it. Do you want to add anything? Like, I have no idea how he did it. Yeah. And then I did read one review that said he just read the jokes like he was Amy Schumer. And I remember thinking like, oh, I wonder if that's how he actually did it. Like he just read my jokes out.
I think it's been almost 10 years since he died.
So yeah.
What
is it that long?
I think it was 2018.
Oh my
something
God.
like that. I would need to look that
Time
up.
is
it was
flying.
before COVID. What was he like as a man, as a friend? What do you remember about him?
Just like a little bit like my dad, like a very, very good character and pulled no punches, would just tell you what he thought of things. And I don't know, he's just really easy to be around. I wasn't with him in any kind of social setting. It was just sometimes it would be work related, or he had a show on CNN that I did, and I did a roundtable show with him one time on CNN and things like that, where we would, interact. But otherwise, it was a telephone call here about work, about the set that I was preparing for him, and about or emails. But I don't really have anything. I wish I had more to, I think he was like the person that he presented himself as. That's, he was just a really lovely guy. And when we did his TV show, the Parts Unknown, he did New Jersey. That's and right. He got my husband and I on the show because he wanted me to come on the show for New Jersey. And I said, I'm not, like, I don't know anything about New Jersey, really. I'm from Canada. I said, but my husband's in New Jersey. And he immediately was like, yeah, let's do it. Like he wasn't caught up in things. Yeah. And then the way that he did the show, we got there to the restaurant where we were going to do the filming at, and they were just all kind of, everyone was just sort of waiting. The cameras were waiting. They mic'd me up. We were waiting. And then the minute he came in, they filmed and we just did it. And there was no like re-entering, how, if you do a reality show, lots of times it's do it again. Oh, say this again, do that again, come in this way, come out that way. There's a lot of like actual kind of acting going on. There's none of that. Literally, they go, Anthony's coming in. So they would mic him before he got to the door, and then he would just walk in. You'd greet him like you'd normally greet him and sit down and have a conversation, and that was that. There was no going back or doing anything different.
Wow.
Which is just speaks kind of to how he is as a human.
Yeah.
That it's like, let's just get the real thing and get out.
Yeah. You said earlier that you've given some more thought to prioritizing fame.
Yes. A couple of years ago, I was like, I gotta get famous now. That's why I'm doing this podcast. I hope it works. I hope it works.
God help you.
Yeah, but only because I started to see, when I started doing stand-up, fame was different for stand-ups. It was acting for the most part. I mean, you could get famous as a comedian, but it wasn't the way it is now, where it's like this parasocial relationship and you're doing podcasts and you're minting money somehow. You're just like, you're making 80 million a fucking year or whatever. It wasn't like that when that wasn't in the, I think that's my phone. I'm sorry. Okay. It's in the, it just wasn't part of the landscape of it. You just basically did the road until you died. Even if you were kind of famous as a comedian, you do late night shows. You might, go on some game shows or something as a like B-list celebrity.
Yeah.
And then the people that got really famous, of course, were actors. They became actors, and I didn't want to do that. So I was like, fine doing what I was doing and writing. I was making quite a bit of money writing and stuff. So I didn't have any issues there. And then at some point I realized though, like stand-up is shifting. Like you can't work the clubs anymore if you're not a name, if you don't have your own audience. The clubs don't have their own audience anymore. Yeah. Before they would have a lot of sort of no-name people coming through because people would just come to the clubs. And then I started to see like, I got to get on Instagram. I got to like raise my profile somehow. And then I just never did it. I did try, but it's just, I've got to do it. It's just it's a really hard block for me for some reason. It seems out of what I set out to do, which was stand up. Now I'm doing this other thing, which I hate, which is please notice me. Yeah. And I just don't like that part of it. Even though stand up, you would think that's the thing you're doing, but it's kind of not. It's just the only way you can do it.
Yeah. Are you wrestling with whether to put more energy into that, or have you decided one way or the other? No,
I decide. I go, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. You're going to just start. And then I'll start asking the clubs for the sets. They digitally send them to you. And then you go, and then I go, okay, look at the sets and then cut it up and just start putting it out there. And then I'll go, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it. I promise. I promise. And then about a week of that, I go, you know what? You don't need to. You're fine. You got your writing, you got your stand-up, you got your clubs will still book you. Just be happy with that. You don't have to try to get people to like you online. You don't have to. And then I let that go for a while. And then I go, I'm so good and people don't see me and I should really put it out there. And I want people to come to my shows. And in order to go on the road, you really have to. They look at that. And any time I've done it, it's been wildly successful. I just don't know why I can't do it.
Do you think it's related to the not caring about money thing? Like you have enough? And so...
Right. I just go, I think I've thought about it a lot because I'm trying to untangle it. I even got like a hypnotherapist involved at one point. And, but it's because I for a long time, I thought it was like, I just don't like how I look. So that's like a hindrance or something. Do you know what I mean? Like I have some insecurity there. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's that I don't like people to see me trying. And so that's all that is. It's like you're basically begging everyone to give you a like. Yes. That's what's so crazy to me about any like you cannot be cool if you're chasing likes, because you have to at some point go hit that like button, smash that like button, people. You got, even if this is like a lot of like spiritual stuff, even like the most like I am nothing, I am no one, please smash that like button. You're like, okay, I guess if you need it.
mean,
And there's something like that I go, I want to make it without that. Is that possible? I don't know if it is. I don't think it is. But it's like, there's something inside of me that's like, it seems embarrassing.
and it seems ripe for comedy.
What?
That situation.
To constantly want to be putting yourself out there? Or
And needing the validation.
Oh, needing the validation.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. I think if I was younger, I would have definitely been doing like bits and acting stuff, or like the, front facing camera stuff. But now it just feels like, well, like I've been doing it for so long, and like it feels like, oh, now she's doing this. You know what I mean? Like even putting up a stand-up clip, it's like, well, what, mommy, how about now? You talk to people, they're like obsessed with how many likes they've gotten and who got more likes than them. And you're like, it's, I don't know. There's something that feels really like unhinged about it all.
Well, and it's everywhere in the culture.
It's everywhere in the culture. Like you're swimming in it. So it's like, and if you were born into this, it's just water around you.
Right.
It's nothing.
Right.
But to me, it's like,
something's fucked up.
yeah, it seems so fucking crazy. And people are really nice to me online too. I get very little hate. I'm shocked how, and when I post stuff, I get like really good engagement. I've never bought a follower in my life. Like I'm lucky. I feel like for doing nothing, I am doing pretty good, but at some point I got to do something. I feel like I got to give back in some way. But I don't think about it the way other people, like people think about it. It's like, we're giving joy to people. We're giving content to people, and I don't know if I guess I haven't been able to turn it in my brain to that yet.
What do you think more fame would bring you? Like, let's say
well, then I'd be able to go out on the road and do the clubs.
And headline. And
the only way to really make that an enjoyable experience is to have your audience coming. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing now. Is I'm going out there and they'll book me because they know me a little bit, or I might get a little bit of an audience coming out to see me or whatever. But for the most part, when you have to do stand up in front of just anyone, it's a lot harder because you're going. You're trying to make a lot of different kinds of people like you.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's just your audience, you can just be you, and they're happy with that. They're fine with that. They already know.
Could you hire someone, just outsource that crap work you don't want to do, and just? Well,
I tried to do that too, and then I micromanaged it to the point where we no longer work together. No, I know it's a psychological thing. For sure. I think fame is all psychological, by the way. Like, if you want to get famous, you can get famous. But people think they want to get famous, but there's a block that they have, which is like, if I get seen, people will say mean things about me, or that you don't feel good enough to get there. I this is so crazy. Now I'm gonna get real nuts. Oh God. I'm sorry. If it gets too crazy, just reel me back. But I feel like my spiritual journey, I wouldn't be spiritual at all if it wasn't for stand-up. Because I'm just not religious or anything like that. But stand-up, it's so close. Becoming a good stand-up is so closely mirrored with like getting in touch with your true, authentic self, that it's almost hard not to be spiritual if you're because a lot of people aren't concerned about being a great stand-up. They're just not, and it's fine. I'm not against those people at all. I'm just saying, if you are in any art trying to get to the heart of it, what you're really trying to get to the heart of is you. You're learning from your own art who you are. And so that's the same as a spiritual journey. It's
true.
Like, who am I? And can I get, like, when I'm on stage, can I be the most authentic person that I can be, which is what you're trying, I think, to achieve to get enlightenment. You can become so authentic that you realize you're actually not you either. You're not your ego. You're nothing.
Yeah.
That's how authentic it becomes. And so, like, if your I could
consciousness.
Yes. You're part of the collective.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's just like I'm only spiritual in a way to make my stand-up better.
That's not a bad reason.
I guess.
It's funny because the name, I think of the dozens of comedians I've met in the last year and a half, the person who is consistently revered as being the most pure personification of the being an artist as a comedian is Dave Attell.
Yeah, right.
I don't think you see Dave Attell trying to up his likes. Right, I don't know. Right. I haven't looked him up.
Well, he obviously has somebody doing his social media. I don't think it's him. I don't know why. Okay. But maybe it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. But that's the thing. You don't think of him as being like, how about this? But also, you know what kills me? It's that anyone that you think is cool that you start following on social media, you immediately, well, not immediately, but after time you go, oh, they're not cool at all. They can't be, because they want your approval so badly. You know, it's a weird thing to be like in this business now where that's the main goal.
For sure. And I could imagine that could have a massive corrupting influence on the craft.
I think the comedians now, like when I was like back in the late 90s or whatever, I would just lay around, or somebody had given me, when I first got to New York, somebody gave me some inline skates and I skated everywhere. And then I come home and take a nap and, you know, eat some of the food that the old lady left. I did nothing all day sometimes I didn't even talk to one other person until I went to go do stand-up. Then I, you know, rollerblade down to the club and do stand-up. But now these fucking kids, they work their asses off. They get up at the crack of noon. No, they get up. I'm sure they probably do get up late, but they're making videos all the time. They're like constantly editing their clips and putting their clips on. Like this stuff takes time. It's actual work. Yeah. And they do it consistently. Well, I'm telling you, I never did anything. I barely wrote a joke for the first 10 years. You know, it's like, I mean, that's not true, but.
Well, it sounds like you're mostly equal parts a writer and a comedian, or writing is a huge part of your story.
Yes.
What is in your mind? I don't know if there are certain subjects you think are worthy of discussion or comedy right now, but what do you write about? What do you see in the world that's worthy of,
like in stand-up?
In stand-up, or just you know, your observations of life that is. You're taking that material and making it a part of what you speak about on stage.
Well, I think now it's all about, interesting. I have no idea. What do I talk about? I guess because I think, like, you know, I feel like we walk around with this belief system that's been installed, and very often we don't, like, so if somebody says like, oh, what do you believe about X, Y, or Z? And then you say, oh, I know this one because I've already got it installed, and you say it instead of going, what does that actually mean? Or what is that like idea that I have from childhood that like actually it doesn't hold up. It's actually not true. And I've started, I mean, a lot of my stand-up is about sort of like, you know, the things that we walk around thinking are we should be doing or saying or being, I think is false. And so I talk a lot about that. And that comes up a lot in my writing too. And it's a good source of comedy because your hot take is the opposite of what everyone thinks. So it gets like an initial good kind of reaction. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is, for those of you out there looking to do some comedy writing, it is a good source of to take something that everybody believes is true. Like, I have a bit where I say men shouldn't have feelings. I don't believe they should, but I really do believe this. I think men should, when they feel it coming up, should shove it down and then live their lives. and see what happens. I mean, there's more to the myth, but it does go against conventional wisdom, I guess.
In the sense of men need to have a level of stoicism?
I think, well, that I do believe like women have to talk stuff out. That's our thing. That's what we do, basically. And then I don't think that's how men operate. And so I don't see why we keep trying to make them operate that way. And I think when men shove it down, whatever their trauma is, it does sometimes come out in really brilliant ways. And it does make for good art, okay? So, or you get a porn addiction, but something will happen. No, I just think like we're like, it's, you know, I don't know. I'm not saying men shouldn't talk about their problems. I'm just saying it's not necessarily, talk therapy doesn't seem like the answer to everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard a statistic recently, God knows if it's true. It was from a fairly reputable source, I suppose, that is very simple, which is the average number of words that an average man and an average woman speak in a given day. And
I think
it's 3 times as much for women.
Yeah.
It was 2,000 words a day for men and 6,000 words a day for women.
Right.
And I think, I mean, the whole field of psychology and counseling and those are mostly, it's a female profession.
Right.
So of course that's going to be.
I mean, what a great job for a woman just to chatting all day with another woman. I'd have no male clients. Like, I'm not doing that. Just women only.
Well,
no, I think women do get, like, you know, I mean, I'll be on the phone for an hour with my friend. I've never seen my husband do that.
Well, as you know, I close these by asking, and this is related to a lot of what we talked about today, of asking guests how they think about the word success. At this point in your life and career, what does that word mean?
I gotta get famous. I gotta get famous. I can't fuck around anymore. No, obviously success is, you know, happiness, I guess. Although I used to think like that's stupid too, because some people are happy being unhappy, you know? So like if somebody's really, if they enjoy complaining, why is that a worse way to be than somebody who like goes around like, this is amazing, this is so great, you know what I mean? If somebody's like good at complaining and they're funny and they're, you know, let them be, let them live. I don't remember the question. Oh, success. I don't know. I guess like, because it does, like on the surface of things, it does look like fame is the big marker for success. Like even money doesn't really do it that much. Like people, you could be like, well, he makes a lot of money, you know, but it's always like kind of like the way they say about, like if it's not a thing that you would want to be famous for, let's say it's like, you're kind of embarrassing. Yeah. But you're famous.
You're infamous.
You're infamous. And then they go, well, he makes a lot of money. It's like saying like when a woman does, well, she's got a kid, you know. It's like, it's always like the booby prize or whatever. So fame really is the top of the charts for success. So yeah.
Because of the doors it opens or for other reasons?
Because I think fame really does like keep that door open. Like you can have name recognition. Like even if you're an actor, or, like in the past, that name recognition can, if you play that game right, you can make it last all the way till you die. Yeah. You can have a form of income to that, you know. But if you didn't have that, you gotta go get a real job. Nobody wants that.
That's not success.
No. Working very little. This is what I tell my daughter all the time because she's struggling to figure out what she wants to do with her life, and I'm like, just do something where you can put the price on it. Yeah. So that's any art. You get to dictate what you're going to sell your art for. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there's no cap for me, really, except for me in this business. Whereas if you're working by the hour, that's it. Yeah. There's only so many hours you can do it. So I just don't see why wouldn't everyone be an artist? How come people don't do it? I'm fascinated.
I think there's a lot of reasons why.
It's just the money, right?
It's a huge part of it. I think some of it is just messaging? I mean, you were talking about just taking in the messaging that you're given from
Right.
whatever, your parents, your school, that there's a pathway to security, and it certainly is not becoming an artist.
But the thing is that you see bad art all the time that somebody's making money off that. So why can't that be you?
Yeah. But
you could also be making bad art.
That's true. That's true. Do you think Instagram for you is primarily the fame route? Are there other avenues that over the next few years you're going to pursue to try to up the
Well, on the way here, I was like, maybe I should start another podcast. Maybe I should do, because I did a podcast with my husband for a long time that was popular and people liked it a lot, but we didn't really make all that much money on it. Yeah. But it did help in the clubs. Like people would come from that. So I don't know. Yeah. Maybe there are other ways. Maybe there are other avenues. We'll see. This
was so fun.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you for letting me complain about my life.
You're great at it.
Thank you.